The call had come in at 7:40 that morning. A patient on the third floor of Carver Memorial, a woman named Estelle Pruett, admitted the previous evening with a respiratory concern. Her companion had arrived at 8, signed the visitor log at the front desk without incident, and made her way to the third-floor corridor with the unhurried certainty of someone who had been in many hospitals and found none of them intimidating. Chaplain Renata Osi was on her third week at Carver Memorial. She was still learning which hallways led where, still memorizing the names on the departmental doors, still measuring the distance between what she had studied and what the work actually asked of her. She was standing near the nurses' station on 3 when the administrator arrived. Douglas Hale ran the hospital's operations division with the particular confidence of a man who had never been seriously questioned in his own building. He was not unkind to people he recognized. The woman he did not recognize was standing near the door to room 312, a canvas tote over one arm, a folder of papers held against her side, watching the corridor with quiet, unhurried eyes. She was older, late 70s, Renata would have guessed, trim, silver-haired, dressed in a dark blazer and low shoes, and she was entirely still. She did not look confused. She did not look lost. She looked, in fact, like someone who was waiting and had no particular objection to waiting. That stillness, it appeared, was exactly what bothered Hale. Renata watched him approach. She could not hear the first words he said. His voice was low, the practiced low of a man who had learned that quietness could carry authority just as well as volume, sometimes better. But she could read the posture, the slight angle of the shoulder, the way his chin lifted when he spoke to her, the quality of the pause he left for her to respond in, which was not really a pause for listening but a pause for compliance. The kind of pause that had already decided what answer it would accept. The woman answered him. Her voice was even. She did not shift her weight or adjust her grip on the folder. She did not step back. Whatever she said, it did not satisfy him. He looked at the folder, then at her, then at the door of room 312, as though calculating how far she had already penetrated a space she was not supposed to occupy. His expression was not hostile in the way cruelty is hostile. It was something more mundane and, in its way, more final. The expression of a person who has already sorted another person into a category and sees no reason to revisit the sorting. He asked. Renata caught this much: whether she had authorization to be on this floor, whether she had checked in with the nursing staff, whether she understood that patient areas were not open to general visitors without a confirmed appointment in the system. The woman said something about Estelle Pruett in room 312. Hale checked his phone. He told her that the name she had given was not in his visitor confirmation list for the morning. There had been a system update, he said, and morning check-ins were by confirmed electronic notification only, a policy that had been in place since the first of the month. He told her she was welcome to go back to the main desk, resubmit her information, and wait for clearance, which could take 45 minutes to an hour. He said this the way people say things when they do not expect to be challenged. The woman looked at him for a moment. Then she looked at the door of room 312 again, not with longing, exactly, but with the patience of someone who is measuring a delay against a purpose, and finding the delay the smaller thing. The patient's family called me directly, she said. I'm not a visitor in the way you mean. With respect, Hale said, and the words carried no respect at all. You are in a restricted patient corridor without a confirmed clearance, and I need you to accompany security to the main floor until that's sorted. I'd prefer to wait here. That's not going to be possible. A security officer had appeared at the end of the corridor, summoned, Renata realized, before the conversation had even begun. Hale had made the call before he crossed the floor to speak to her. The woman looked once, briefly, at the door of room 312. Then she turned and walked with the officer toward the elevator. She did not argue. She did not raise her voice. She carried her canvas tote and her folder of papers, and she walked with the same unhurried certainty with which she had arrived, as if being escorted out of a building were simply another corridor she had walked before and found unremarkable. Hale watched her go. Then he turned and walked in the other direction, and Renata heard him tell the nurse at the station that there had been a visitor confusion, handled, no disruption, and that the morning record should note the clearance system had performed as intended. Renata stood where she was for a moment. There was something about what she had just watched that sat wrong, not in a way she could have named clearly. Not yet, but in the way that a wrong note in a familiar piece of music sits wrong before you can identify which note it was. She had seen visitors turn back before. She had seen families redirected, rules cited, frustrations managed, but she had not seen this. A person that composed, treated as though her composure itself were the problem. She went to the elevator. The woman was in the lobby near the main entrance, standing at one of the low tables beside the window. She was not on her phone. She was not speaking to anyone. She had set her canvas tote on the table and opened the folder and was reviewing something in it with the methodical patience of someone checking work they already know to be correct. Renata crossed the lobby and stopped a few feet away, uncertain of what she meant to say. The woman looked. "I'm one of the chaplains here," Renata said. "I was on the floor when I wanted to make sure you were all right." The woman considered her. Her eyes were clear and unhurried, the same quality as everything else about her. "That's kind of you," she said. "I'm fine. I'm sorry about what happened up there." "Don't be sorry on behalf of the building," the woman said, not unkindly. "It wasn't yours to manage." Renata stood there a moment, not sure if she should go. "Is there anything I can do?" "I can go back up and let the patient know you're here at least. Make sure she knows." "Estelle knows," the woman said. "I called her from the lobby. She's resting, and she knows I'll be back this afternoon when the floor situation is resolved." She said floor situation the way someone says it who has dealt with floor situations before and found them temporary. She closed her folder. She looked at Renata again, and something in her expression shifted. Not softer exactly, but more open, the way a door opens that was never actually locked. "What's your name?" "Renata. Renata Osi." "Third week?" Renata blinked. "How did you?" "The way you were standing at the nurse's station," the woman said. "Watching everything. People on their third week still watch everything. It's a good habit. Don't lose it." She reached into the front pocket of the canvas tote and took out a card. She held it out to Renata. Renata took it. The card read, "Constance M. Allen, Senior Compliance Examiner, RET Federal Division of Health Facility Standards and Enforcement. Licensed Inspector. States of the record, 31 years of service." Below that, a phone number, and below that a suite address at the Regional Health Board's office 4 miles away. Renata read it twice. Then she read it a third time, slowly, as though the words might rearrange themselves into something that required less recalibration. They did not. "I filed a formal inspection report for this facility last Thursday," Constance Allen said, in exactly the same tone she had used for everything else. The same tone she had used with the administrator, the same tone she had used to say she was fine, the same tone that had, Renata now understood, nothing to do with the circumstances and everything to do with who she was. Routine initiated audit. 6 areas of concern. The report is currently sitting on the desk of the State Board's compliance director, where it has been since Friday morning. I came today as a personal visit. Estelle was my supervisor for 11 years, and she asked me to check on her. Those are entirely separate things." She picked up her tote. "Tell your chaplaincy director that the third-floor corridor protocol for non-electronic visitor confirmations needs a human override. That is in the report. It will be corrected." She walked out through the main entrance into the morning light. Renata stood in the lobby holding the card. She stood there long enough that one of the intake clerks came over to ask if she was all right. She was all right. She was simply recalibrating every assumption she had carried into the building that morning. The State Board's compliance office sent a courier at 2:17 that afternoon. Renata did not know this at the time. She would learn it later, from the chaplaincy director, who had it from the nursing administrator, who had it from the records office. The courier arrived with a sealed envelope, addressed to the hospital's chief operating officer and its legal counsel, and a second envelope addressed to the director of operations, Douglas Hale's formal title. The letter in Hale's envelope was 2 pages. It noted that the inspection report filed the previous Thursday had been reviewed and certified as actionable by the compliance director that same morning. It noted that the report's 6 areas of concern had been elevated to a formal corrective action inquiry. It noted in the second paragraph that a credentialed state compliance examiner with active standing had been denied access to a patient floor and escorted from the building earlier that day, and that this action, in the context of an open compliance inquiry, constituted an interference finding under the state's health facility code. It instructed Hale to stand down from operational authority pending review of the interference finding. effective immediately. His access card would be deactivated at 5 o'clock. The corrective action plan would be entered into the public facility record within 72 hours. The letter was signed by the state compliance director. It did not raise its voice. It did not need to. 31 years of filed reports had taught Constance Allen's profession that the most durable form of accountability was the one that ran through process, that lived in the record, that was cited in subsequent reviews, that outlasted the particular afternoon in which it was entered. The letter would be in that record. The corrective action plan would be in that record. The interference finding would be in that record. These things did not vanish when the day ended. Renata heard later that week that Hale had spent the afternoon insisting to the COO that he had simply followed visitor protocol, that he had had no way of knowing the woman's standing, that anyone would have made the same call. The COO, who had read both letters, did not disagree that Hale had followed protocol. The protocol, as the compliance report had already noted, was the problem. Following a flawed protocol did not excuse its consequences. Constance Allen returned to Carver Memorial the following morning. She signed the visitor log, received her confirmation slip, and went to the third floor to sit with Estelle Pruett for 2 hours. She brought a thermos of tea and a paperback, and she read aloud to Estelle until Estelle fell asleep. The nurses on the floor, who knew by then who she was, let her stay past the posted visiting window without comment. Renata saw her in the hallway on the way out. Constance Allen nodded to her, the small, complete nod of someone acknowledging that a thing had been seen and that the seeing mattered. Renata nodded back. She kept the card in her badge holder for the rest of her time at Carver Memorial, not as a reminder of what had happened to Constance Allen, who had not needed anyone's reminder and would not have wanted it, as a reminder of what she herself had almost let pass without moving. The corridor, the woman walking toward the elevator, the security officer's hand not touching, but gesturing, the administrator already turning away before she had even cleared the floor. The moment between witnessing and acting was shorter than she had thought. The habit of watching everything was only useful if the watching led somewhere. Dignity, Renata came to understand, did not require rescue. It did not require a witness to survive. But bearing witness to it, seeing it clearly, refusing to explain it away as protocol, refusing to file it under the heading of someone else's problem, was its own form of accountability. The woman in the dark blazer had known exactly who she was from the moment she arrived at Carver Memorial. The building had taken the morning to catch up. By afternoon, it had.